On this episode of In Search of Lost Highways, got a little treat for you. This, from about 1913 till 1926, this was the National Old Trails Road, also the Santa Fe to Grand Canyon Road. After 1926, it shared the road with Route 66. And this would have been the alignment of Route 66 until, around 1938 or 39. On the left side of the canyon is the post-1938 alignment of Route 66. One of the things that makes this little drive really special is that it's a near-perfect time capsule. I have postcards from the 1918, 1919 period that show this road, and it's exactly as it is today, except it's paved instead of dirt. Even the railroad bridges with the Santa Fe signage, that was in the postcards. Not sure how old the railroad bridges are. This would have been the course for the 1914 Desert Classic automobile races. This was the last in a series of automobile races that commenced about 1909. And they were organized by some business owners in Phoenix, Arizona, including the owner of the Arizona Republican newspaper, which is now the Arizona Republic. They were having a discussion about which is better, gas or steam-powered cars. Now, I have no evidence of this, but I assume that drinking was involved. Very few good stories start with they were having a salad and tea. Well, they hatched up this scheme, and it was called the Desert Classic Automobile Race, but people dubbed it the Cactus Derby. And it was a course from Los Angeles to Phoenix across the Mojave Desert. And every year the race grew in popularity and in scope of promotion and marketing. The 1914 race featured some of the big boys of the era: Louis Chevrolet, Barney Oldfield. And that particular year, the race followed the National Old Trails Road, this road that we're on now, from Los Angeles across the desert all the way to Ash Fork, Arizona, before turning south and going down through Prescott, down Yarnell Hill, and into Phoenix. Winner of that race was Barney Oldfield, by the way. You can see cars on the other alignment of Route 66. That was the alignment bypassed in the late 1970s. It was put in about 38, 39. This is a great little time capsule drive located just immediately to the west of Kingman, Arizona. The road is truncated about 4 or 5 miles from town, so you'll have to backtrack to get here. But it's well worth it, especially if you're a fan of Route 66 and automotive racing. I've got this urge to do this for these kind of drives in something like a Model A Ford to give it more of that time capsule feel. This gives you kind of an idea of, what Route 66 was like before World War II. Narrow, twisted. Coming into Kingman, Arizona here now. Just around this bend. Some section of this road you can find in great little Hollywood classics like Roadhouse 66. I believe that was 1984 with Judge Reinhold and William Dafoe. neat drive. Really beautiful country. Stone and concrete bridge. Now, when Route 66 first came into Kingman, it's gone now, but it does appear in the movie Roadhouse 66. There was a general store, and at one time was a gas station. And that would be right about where these white trailers are now. And if you're really observant, buried in this, see if we can find it here for you. Right behind these trailers, let's see, turn here a bit, there is an old auto court. We'll run up here real quick. There's a couple cabins remaining. I have no information about these cabins, other than the fact, well, they obviously date back to the 1920s, 1930s period. Let's see, here we go. They'd be in this driveway. I'll take a look, and you can see the cabins. There's a couple of them still standing, and there's another one here to the right. Well, but for our purposes, we're going to follow, for this episode of In Search of Lost Highways, we're focused on Route 66 and the National Trails Road. As soon as we get here, you can see to the right the Hub's house. It's one of the oldest houses in Kingman, dating back to the early 1880s. Now, there was a boarding house and gas station here. One of the first gas stations in Kingman was on this corner. And then next to that was a restaurant and a free campground in the era of the National Old Trails Road. There at the intersection, the National Old Trails Road before 1921 would have turned right going up through Slaughterhouse Canyon. Now here at this junction, Andy Devine Avenue, we'll talk about Andy Devine Avenue in just a moment. But the National Old Trails Road after 1921 came to this intersection and turned right. Likewise with Route 66. After about 1938, Route 66 was rerouted to continue down what is now Andy Devine Avenue. At the time, it was Front Street. And it would have continued west to the junction of the eastern terminus of Highway US 466. Lots of great road relics here, but we'll get to those in just a moment. On our eastbound leg of this trip. And I'll tell you a little bit about the history of these places. At this juncture, Route 66 continues west on the 1938 alignment we saw when we were down in the canyon. And then Highway 93 to Vegas is here. And that was Highway 466 in the 1930s. There's a memorial there to Lieutenant Beale and his famous camel caravan. And then here at Locomotive Park, this was the rodeo grounds, ball field, things of that nature. Now, back in the teens, a little bit earlier, 1907 Powerhouse, now the Visitor Center. Mr. D's Route 66 Diner, mentioned that a little bit earlier. That is the Chemo Cafe from 1939. We did this earlier. It was kind of dark, so I wanted to give you a daytime shot of the road. This would have been the road that Clark Gable and Carol Lombard drove when they married in Kingman in March of 1939. Kingman was established, of course, as a railroad town, so the depot is pretty important. The water tanks, the tower, that all dates back to the era of steam locomotives. You can find more information about a lot of these places with the narrated historic district walking tour, Kingman.tours. We just passed the machine shop in TNT Engineering. There's a Bob Waldmeyer mural there. The machine shop for TNT Engineering, that was originally the Tavern Bar, and it appears in that movie Roadhouse 66. Running parallel to the pre-1921 National Old Trails Road, which is on the right side. And this morning, on the way downtown, I showed you Chadwick Drive, which was the National Old Trails Road after 21, and Route 66 until 47. Now what we're going to be driving through is the cut that was made in 47-48 in El Trovador Hill. And give you a little better shot here. The El Trovador Motel, which was 1938-39, the Hilltop Motel. And I also wanted to point out, this morning on the way down to breakfast, I showed you the Scoops on 66, the little Stone Cafe. Just past the El Trovador Motel, if you'll look to the right, you'll see the Siesta Motel. Now, the stonework's all been painted over, but you'll be able to see that it had the stonework. The motel we just passed is now an apartment complex. That was the Branding Iron Motel in mid-1950s. And there's the Siesta Motel. You can see the stonework, and it also has the white trim stonework. Then we have the Dam Bar Steakhouse, another one that dates back to probably about the 1940s. I mentioned the Orchard Inn this morning here on the left. That is one of the last vestiges of the Astro Motel chain. And you can see a lot of the old motels here along Route 66 still. Many are gone. The old smokehouse. The agricultural station was originally right about here. I do apologize, but I cannot remember. But two of these lanes were early Route 66, and then, of course, the others were put in with the realignment of the highway. And that takes us up to pretty much where we started this episode this morning. Kind of a drive through Kingman on a winter's day. And we'll turn around and button it up right here at Lewis Kingman Park. There's a little bit of trivia for you. Lewis Kingman was a railroad survey engineer, and he was the namesake for, well, the city of Kingman, Arizona. My friends, I always want to thank you for joining us. And, well, we'll do this again real soon. Take a listen to our podcast live on Sunday mornings, 7 o'clock, Coffee with Jim on Podbean. The program is then archived. There's an embedded player on the Jim Hinckley's America website. And you'll find some great interviews with people like Ned Luchner, the owner of Cool Springs in the Black Mountains along Route 66, and Kerry Barrett of the Oklahoma Route 66 Association. Well, until we meet again, my friends, I have to bid you adios.